You're listening to Diva Tonight with Carlene Humphrey, a relationship podcast with a focus on life, love, and friendship. Welcome to Diva Tonight.
Hi, I'm Carlene, and this is Diva Tonight. This is a podcast series on relationships that we have with ourselves, our friends, and our family. And I am joined tonight with Babs Faseesin. And you are from Nigeria?
Originally, yes.
Originally from Nigeria. You live in New York.
Yep.
And we were talking about 40. Like, you know, this series is about women in their 40s, and I've continued it on, and, you know, haven't had too many male perspectives on this journey of life or this chapter in life. And so we were talking about it. So
yeah.
What do you think? As a man yourself, you know, like now that you've turned 40, you're in your 40s.
Yeah.
What are certain expectations that you have?
I don't know if it's about expectations, but I'll tell you what. So when my dad turned 40, I remember very, very, very vividly the day my dad turned 40. He called me and we were just chatting. I'm the first son, the first child. And my dad always viewed me as a son and a friend. And so we were chatting when he turned 40, and he told me, he said, you know, after 40, I need to reevaluate my health habits, and I need to change the kind of foods that I eat. I mean, I was very young at the time. I didn't understand I couldn't really understand what he was saying, but he continued to say that when he turned 41 and then 42 and then 43. He just continued to say, oh, I need to be very mindful of what I eat and all of that. But since growing up and turning 40 myself, I think I have a good understanding now what he was saying then. So frankly, I miss the days where I woke up, I jumped out of bed and bounced out, and frankly didn't even realize that there was any such thing as tension or pain or tightness of the muscle. The other day I sat and asked myself, where is the 19-year-old highest goal scorer in soccer? That used to be me. And I'm like, where did that person go? But urging and growing, or if you will, gracefully is a natural part of life. And if your question is around what are my expectations in my 40s, I guess my question would be, are these expectations around what I should have achieved in life? Is that what we're referencing here?
Yeah, the female perspective is like, society expects me at this age of life to be married, to have children. And if you don't have those things, then your family starts to question, like, oh, how come you don't have kids? What's the reason? Like, you know, your clock is ticking, like, you know, like the maternal thing. And if you're not conforming to society's expectation of you, then you start to question yourself and like, what is life about? Like, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. I mean, that's right. I don't think it's any different for men, actually. Men also, society expects men in their 40s to be married, to have, you know, to be taking care of a family, raising a family, if you will, to have a successful career or something of that nature. So yes, societal pressure is same both for men and women, maybe more so for women, but we do experience the same. Families asking questions around, when are you going to settle down? And, you know, where us women, I'm not sure what the general assumption is when you're in your 40s, but for men, it would be, hey, do you want to be a lifetime player? Is that what you want to be? Do you just want to play? You want to be a player? Oh, what is it? You know? So there are those assumptions, and I made a post on LinkedIn recently, a few days ago, and an old childhood friend of mine responded saying, hey, you keep talking about family. Well, not trying to make put pressure on you, but we need to see this family. So that's only a friend will do that to you on LinkedIn, And I mean, but that's part of society, right? That's the expectation that society has. There is this unwritten and unseen timeline that makes us, chase these what society has created as the image of success with its own timeline, forgetting that every individual is different and that our journeys are very different. Some people would start out at the gate, other people midlife, other people later in life. Everyone's got their individual journeys to leave, and that's essentially how I run my life. I don't exactly care much what society says or what society expects of me. I have mastered my own journey and staying in my lane practically and really just doing life on my own terms. And in our 40s, I think we actually have come of age to the point where we begin to feel like, yes, we can do that. Because when we were younger, there was a lot more need or feeling like we had this deep desire to be accepted. When you're in your 40s, listen, I'm not seeking acceptance from anyone at this point in my life. Maybe when I was 28, when I was 32, maybe I was seeking acceptance from my family, acceptance from my culture, acceptance from society, acceptance from the professional world where I have a career. I'm seeking acceptance. And the battle between acceptance and authenticity is one that constantly rages within our minds. We're constantly fighting authenticity. Should I be authentic to myself? Should I not care about what anyone says? Versus should I seek acceptance? Because if I seek acceptance, then I would lose a bit of myself, the authenticity. But then if I choose to be authentic to myself, sometimes I risk being rejected by society. So it's a conflict we're constantly dealing with. But I think in our 40s, it becomes a lot easier. Well, maybe not easier, but we come of age where we feel a lot more ability to say, hey, it is my journey. And I'm leaning into my journey and really caring less about what anyone else expects.
Mm-hmm. I think you nailed it right on the head there. And, with that being said, I didn't give you your proper introduction, mister. I'm going to do that now because you're talking about authenticity and being yourself and who you are. And so there's a difference between me and you and who you are in life and how you've gotten here. And obviously you are the author of Cracking the Life Code.
Correct.
And you're also studying right now. You mentioned previously that you're working on your PhD. Is that correct?
Well, that was a long time ago. That must have been a while since we had that conversation. That's been done a long time ago, except maybe it's a second PhD. Maybe it's a second PhD. Maybe.
You said you were right? You're PhD.
I'm constantly studying. There's no end to studying.
This is next level.
Yeah.
2 PhD. Let alone
I do know a few. My dad's got 2.
Yeah. It's in your DNA.
I think it's a family thing.
It's a family.
Yeah.
What does your dad have a PhD in? Both of them.
He's a professor. He's a professor of political science. So
and
he's in the political science space.
Where? Which university?
Oh no, he's retired now. He used to be in the London School of Economics.
You have big shoes to fill.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's part of the conversation we were having earlier. I don't know if those shoes are mine or they're his. I got my own shoes to fill to wear. Those shoes.
They say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And as someone who is well read, I love reading. And
Yeah.
my interest falls, like, in terms of like reading the entire book, but I do love to read. And it's always been like that since I was a child. And so the saying is, there are those who do, and then there are those who teach. And those who teach are those who enjoy learning and teaching others. You know what I mean? And so,
yeah, teaching. I think teaching is actually a gift. If you ever have an opportunity to teach, I would count it a privilege, because that's how I stay relevant. That's how I constantly learn. In order to teach, you must read, you must study, you must understand. And so the best way to learn is really to teach. That's my personal point of view.
And so what is the second degree that you're studying right now?
I have interest in technology.
Artificial intelligence?
There you go. So it's a natural progression from my first doctorate degree, which is in strategy and innovation.
So you have experience with building brands across North America, Europe, and Africa, and you're a strategist, as you said earlier, before we started to record. And so what is the single most important human truth that remains consistent regardless of the market?
There are a ton of human truths. Our need for connection is, for instance, a fundamental human truth. Regardless of the proliferation of technology, advancement of technology, yes, we have access to better tools for communication, but a deep human desire is one for connection. We're seeking. We're not designed to be isolated. We're not designed to be focused on screens all day, playing games and, watching entertainment. But it's unfortunate that that's where we are today, because we have all of the tools to do so, to engage ourselves and entertain ourselves. But at the core of our being, there is a burning desire for connection. That's the human truth that doesn't go away.
Yeah. I think even with AI, I think if we talk about it's not just artificial intelligence, but in religion, it's like, it was Adam and Eve. And so there were two people, if we're going that route. And so as human beings, I guess we're not supposed to be alone all the time. I mean, we're not designed that way, like you said. And so with your study in AI, since we're going down that road, what is the biggest misconception with AI? What are you finding in your research?
Well, the general notion that AI is doomsday is inaccurate. The assumption that AI is just negative is not accurate. Just like every invention, every advancement in technology has brought some fairly positive improvements to human life and quality of life. And each one of those also have demerits. So artificial intelligence has got significant merits, but then it has also got its demerits. But I feel like there is an overemphasis on the negative implications. And trust me, I do know and agree that there are downfalls, demerits to use of artificial intelligence. But it's not all. Yeah.
So there's pros and cons to everything. And so what do you think are the advancements? Like, why do you think it's important?
There are so many things we want to do. Well, I personally, there's so many things I want to do in a day that I don't have enough time to get through them. If I have an agent that can run all of my tasks, all of my errands, and free up my time, my brain power to do something deeply strategic. When we started this conversation before you hit record, I told you I just got into trying to pop out ideas. That's my natural state where I'm thinking of ideas. I'm thinking big ideas, strategic solutions to big, problems. But then I have to think about grocery shopping. I have to think about, so many other, low level tasks. If I have an AI agent that's able to take care of all of those for me, and I free up my brain power to focus on only creative and strategic things, can you imagine how much more I'll do in a day? So that's just one one angle. When we look at how it's impacting medicine, and now we're able to discover more medical solutions, if you will, faster. So it's about speed. It's about bringing a lot more ease to life. It's about helping us perform better. It's about, scaling what we do today, times 10xing what we do today. And there, of course, I know that leads to the fear that humans will be replaced, especially in the professional space. And there's no doubt there have been lots of conversation around AI may or will eliminate some positions. We're starting to see that actually. We're starting to see new consulting firm let go of over 1,000 people because they didn't believe they were going to be able to adopt AI, or their ability to leverage AI may not be great. So, hey, there are opportunities, but then, yes, there are challenges, cons to AI. One of them is because this technology is very smart, bad players are able to leverage that technology to continue to do scams. So the scams become more intelligent. Just as the technology becomes more intelligent, scammers become it's like a tool to continue to be bad players in society. That's an example. And we talk a lot about deepfakes. You can't really tell what is real versus what is fake. And then so many of misinformation.
The one thing I want to say as I'm listening to you is that there's this song I like, and it's not even a real artist who wrote that song.
Yes, the AI song.
God made me. I can't believe it. There's 2 songs now that I've heard, and there's no music video behind it, and they're not admitting that it is AI, but it's obvious that it is. Because, you can't find this artist. We're not going to their concert, right? And so it's amazing. I'm like, oh my gosh, this song is going viral right now. And the people behind it. So obviously there are people who help create the song. Because, AI is created by humans. So that is a scary thing when you think about it. Like, it's just changing the way we create. Because, music itself, the music industry is even changing because of this. Don't you think? Like,
everything's changing. Yeah. Music is changing. Entertainment's changing. I have the opportunity of speaking at an AI conference that has, in the music industry. So yes, it's what's that?
That AI conference.
Yeah.
Enlighten us.
Well, there are a few AI conferences for some different organizations, different industry bodies. So you have the marketing industry saying we want to have an AI conference where we want to talk about how AI is application for our industry, marketing, or the music industry. How is AI impacting the music industry when we think about the rights, the ownership, the copyrights to this music, the music, and how should our industry respond to AI, or how should we leverage AI? That I've had the opportunity of attending a few of these, probably 6 by now. And they're always very interesting. Interesting in the sense that you would learn how different technology providers what solutions they bring to market, and how those solutions can be beneficial to whatever your field of practice is. And I often encourage people just keep an open mind. You never know what you would learn and how you might leverage that. AI is producing a lot more millionaires than we've ever seen before. So,
Season 4 of Diva Tonight brings you incredible guests, honest conversations, real experiences, and lessons we can all take with us. Diva Tonight, glamour for your ears.
But getting back to you, we're talking about like the industry and music and life, but there is more to that than the person behind who wrote the book. So cracking the code, can you elaborate?
Habits, mindsets, and behaviors for personal success. I wanted to talk a little about success in that book because just the way we started this conversation, society often finds success and expects us to think of success in terms of material things. And I wanted to demystify that assumption that success is defined by material. I often think of success as finding fulfilling purpose, finding contribute to something else. Those are ways in which I think of success. And oftentimes when people are unable to attain success in the real sense of success, they tend to grab onto the symbols of success. Symbols of success is not the same as success. Success is intangible, but symbols, as humans, we often associate things tangible, or we associate intangibility to tangibles. So because we can't really wrap our heads around what success means to be tangible, we use symbols of success to describe, or we ascribe using symbols of success. What are some of those symbols of success? Big home, big car, maybe a Gucci bag, shoe, sneakers, expensive sneakers, gold chain, and jewelry, and so on and so forth. These are symbols that when we see, our brain attributes to success, quote and unquote. And oftentimes when people are not able to attain success in its real sense, they tend to go for the symbols of success. So car, expensive car, big home, clothing, and all of those. Because then it makes them feel like they're successful, even though those are just symbols of success, not truly success. So I wanted to write about that in my and I also wanted to help the readers understand that there are pretty cool pieces that help us achieving personal success. It's professional success. There are other types of successes, but I was focused on personal success. And I thought that personal success is one that balances out and completes at life as a whole, holistically. So you're thinking career, family, finances, spirituality, health and wellness, and all these areas of our lives we're exploring and seeking to grow those areas of our lives. Oftentimes when we think about focusing on success, we think about career or finance. I just focus on finances, and nothing else matters. My relationship doesn't matter. Everything else suffers at the expense of finances or at the expense of career, because we think that if we put all of our time and effort in career, then we will be successful. And that's why today we have so many people. It's exercise every time I go to speak, where I ask them to introduce themselves to someone they haven't met before. And then I turn around and ask them, well, how did they introduce themselves? Oftentimes, people cannot introduce themselves to a stranger without use of what they do. The first thing a person introduces themselves is, hey, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I am this engineer, I work at this, I'm the manager of such and such hotel. So we usually wrap our identity around our job title, the symbol.
And if you do not start the conversation with that, Babs, they will still ask you, what do you do?
That's correct.
If I tell you that I have a podcast and that I like to play volleyball and I dance for many years, you're like the urge to ask, but what do you do for a living? How do you pay your bills? Right? It's, what do I call it? Like, as you were saying it, it's the Hollywoodism of success. What we see on TV, the fancy car, the nice house. There's so many shows. Like, I remember Pimp My Ride or MTV Cribs, like all these shows, the reality shows that we watch, because we are watching celebrity lifestyle. And, you know, it's like the crash and burn. It's like, you know, you watch, you know, Mary J. Blige at the top of her game. And then when she went bankrupt, it's like, how did that happen? You had all this money. You were at the top of your game, and it's, you know, spending all the money or doing reckless things with the money, right? You, like you said, financial success, right? When you made it big, it's always a thing where when you made your first million, what did you buy? Right? That's always the question. And so, it makes it hard when that is the image that we see, and trying to separate ourselves from that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, he has done a lot of that. Our culture is shaped by media. So media has significant influence. So we oftentimes lean into our frame of reference, and our frame of reference media is where we draw our inspiration from.
So when you ask those when you've run those meetings, or there's group exercises and you've asked people to introduce themselves, what should they be talking about? Like what has your mindset been?
Well, I think there are so many things that make up a human, their passions, or desires, there are fears, there are aspirations.
That's what you talk about in your book, your fear, the fear.
There are fears, there are aspirations. These are all the things that make me who I am. There is,
what do you fear? Now that we're talking about it, what is your biggest fear?
Well, I really hope that I don't ever find myself on my dying bed only to realize there was something else I wanted to do that I didn't get to do. So that's why I'm doing my best now to live life to the fullest. I used to think that I would retire in the classroom and I'm done working professionally. I'll retire as a professor. But then one day it hit me that knows what tomorrow holds. Knows that I'm going to wait until I'm 60 to retire and then go start teaching. And so 2 years ago, I decided to go in the classroom and start teaching. Like I don't want to be on my dying bed only to think of one thing else that I wanted to do so that I didn't get to do.
That is very interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. So you talk about success and then society's idea of success. So how do you define success?
Success at its core, if I strip everything and just go to the bare bones of success with purpose, it's about me and fulfillment, pretty much. That's how I define success. So I give an example. A teacher who teaches in a remote part of the world. This teacher will never be known by media. Influencers will never find this teacher. No one would do a spotlight on this teacher. But this teacher, who is in a remote part of the world, is raising people to become doctors, who become lawyers, people who find cure to cancer, people who find, discover new vaccines. It's this teacher that's raising and teaching them. All right. So for this teacher, I believe that they have achieved success in life. Now, they're not known, they're not recognized, they're not celebrated, they are not popular, they probably don't even have money, they're only probably living paycheck to paycheck. So all of the things that we attribute to success, they don't have. They're not celebrities, they're not recognized, they're not celebrated, they don't have money. All those are the ways we think of success. But in my mind, that teacher in a remote part of the world has found purpose, is doing something meaningful, and I bet they're fulfilled in doing it. So success is about purpose, meaning, and fulfillment.
Yeah. That's interesting, though. One of my teachers, he wasn't a teacher, he was my guidance counselor. I didn't know he taught, but he taught math back then, and he recently passed away. And I think it goes to show when you read the message of the impact he left behind, I think it goes to show that he did do the right thing. It's hard to find good teachers, but when that person was a good teacher or a good role model, they have nothing but good things to say about that person. So when I read the messages of his impact, I think it's important. I think, what's it called? It's on this Facebook page, for the high school that I went to. And yeah, we have a reunion page because they're supposed to have a reunion, and they just posted recently, he passed away in October of last year. Right. And so that when I hear you talk about that teacher in the rural area where they're not well known, they're not they don't have this media presence. It's kind of the unspoken hero in a way,
Mm-hmm. The ones that don't wear cape.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess it's kind of the meaning in the message where it's what kind of impact do you want to leave behind, right? Or what kind of legacy? What is your legacy, right? So,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Wish more people come that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only about hustle. There's more to life.
It's not about the hustle, no? I think it's hard though, because you said, we are a society of the go, go, go. And you said it earlier in the conversation about those mundane tasks, the boring tasks that we have to do on a daily, the tasks that I hate too. It takes me forever to do sometimes, the dishes, the laundry. and having someone to do those things so that you don't have to do them, so that you have more time to spend with your family and your friends and, because time is what we have. It's all we have. Time is going by quickly, right? So with that being said, with this book that you wrote, Cracking the Code, you have a new book that you're working on, or have you completed that book? I have no idea.
Well, there are 2 books in the works right now. Got Naked coming up this year. Got White Space coming up this year. White Space is a business book. White Space is around helping small and medium scale businesses understand how global brands tap into opportunities, or how they discover and leverage untapped opportunities. That's really what the business book is about.
But that book, Naked, that's the one that I'm really interested in.
Yeah, of course you are interested in it's about vulnerability. It's about vulnerability. It's
Why are you saying that? Are you putting me in a box, Babs?
No, there's no box.
There's no box? No, there's a circle?
You sit on top of the box. There's no box.
Okay, fair enough. So do tell. Naked. What is that? What is it about?
Naked is about vulnerability. It's leveraging, using vulnerability as a tool for building stronger relationships. The culture that raised me is one that believes that men didn't cry. It's one that says, well, get up, the man, toughen up, can't show emotions, you can't be seen as weak, without recognizing that vulnerability is actually a strength rather than a weakness. And so I just wanted to give this point of view, in the Naked, saying sometimes the power that vulnerability enables us to connect with people in deeper ways. And that connection helps to strengthen our relationships with them. So whether that's a romantic relationship, or it's a father-daughter relationship, father-son, father-daughter, sibling relationship, might be even a leader to the community, is that relationship, and vulnerability helps. It's like a tool that allows us to strengthen those bonds and those relationships. So that's really what it's about. Encouraging us to lean into that vulnerable side. So it can be uncomfortable, can be very difficult, but that's how we get to deep connections. Most people want to stay superficial, just want to be
being vulnerable, being open. Yeah. As you say that, I think of the song. It's an oldie, Big Girls, or is it Big Boys Don't Cry? We've even written songs about it.
Yeah, big boys cry like babies.
Yeah. Don't let them see you. Even as women, sometimes it's like when you're vulnerable and you're crying. Like I remember one of my friends, she's never seen me cry. And I think during the pandemic, I just had a moment where I was like, I think it just hit me hard. Something did. And I just started, the tears were rolling, and she's like, Carlene, you never cry. I never see you cry. And so when you break down like that, and people cause I'm so used to being strong. And so it's hard. You know what I mean? Like that's your vulnerable side. That shows us, I guess we're in certain societies is a sign of weakness,
Yes.
Especially in Caribbean household. I feel like we've always been toughen up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even when you are upset or you're sad, and it's hard. And so I think it's important that you wrote this book. What was the inspiration behind it?
Well, I have done a lot of work in my journey, personal development work, self-discovery work. And looking back at my childhood, if I had a book like this, I probably would have benefited a lot from reading this book. So I wanted to share that with the next generation of Black men. And women who might be interested in going against the grain, the general assumption cultural assumption that vulnerability is weakness. So I wanted to help justify that and bring out the value vulnerable, how it cements, deepens relationships and connections.
Well said. So when does Naked come out? When is the release date?
Due to be out this summer.
Oh, wow. 2026 is going to be a good year.
That's right.
So. Yeah.
That's right. Starting off to be a good year already.
Yeah,
Look at me here. Look at me here.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. It's in the making. It was meant to be, right?
That's right.
Certain things that are meant to be. And so with that being said, I do want to ask you, for the woman or the man who is listening, woman or man, whoever's listening, in terms of, in the new year, there's always New Year's resolutions and goals. And so as someone who is a strategist, what do you think is important in terms of like a life plan or a plan for the future? How should we plan ahead?
Well, I mean, we are limited in our ability to see the future. So I encourage my members of my Cracking a Life Code community to take it one day at a time and invest in becoming 1% better each day. That's really all we can do. Yes, we can keep our eyes on the future, but no one can truly tell what the future looks like. But the little drops of water often make up pond. So I'll focus on the little drops of water. What can I do today that would make me a better person? My finances. What can I do today that will make me a better husband? What can I do today that will make me a better father? What can I do today that will make me one step closer to my fitness goal? What can I do today? It's just one day, every single day, getting 1% better is what our focus should be. And I often encourage our so.
I have one more question.
Yes.
So you're talking about finances. I think that's the one thing that many of us struggle with. I think in the new year, it's like, paying off your debts. So how can one master money? What do you think is important with that?
So I wrote a lot about mastering money in my book, Cracking the Life Code. I would encourage anyone who wants to double click into that to take a look at my book. I was actually just reading this portion of the book right before this podcast. It's really titled Mastering Money. So have a look at it. And I guess the summary is we need to understand that money is a tool. We don't exist to acquire and amass money. It's a tool for us to achieve greater things. And our relationship with money might change slightly when we change our mindset around money, which means we don't use money as a solution for all problems. Rather, we identify the role of money in helping achieve something greater. And then that way we start to think about money maybe slightly different. It's a tool for, just like a car. I need a car to get from point A to B. And when I get to point B, that's it. The car has done its job. When we think of money that way, we might have a slightly different relationship with money. But I understand that if you've gone through a really rough patch, it can be very difficult to think of money that way. There's the assumption that when I was going to college, I told my parents I wanted to play soccer professionally, and my parents said, hell nah, not in this family. And I was like so unhappy because my friend went pro and played soccer. But my parents were like, well, it only takes is one injury. Get one injury and your entire career is destroyed. So we want you to go to college. We want you to study. We want you to become a doctor. That's really the path. And I never understood why they kept doing it. But then as I got older, I understood that, well, they just wanted to be secure financially. They just wanted financial security for me. Well, if only they knew that they've raised me in a way that regardless of what profession I practice, I have the values, the habits, and the mindset that's required to have enough to take care of myself, which is security that they needed for me. But that's a whole other conversation. So if you've had a rough time financially and you start to make money, I don't know if that happens to you, but me earlier in my career, I used to fear that I might lose my money. Like, oh, what if I lost my job and I didn't have, so I held on so tightly to money. But today I say to people, I treat money like the way I treat my life, which is I hold tightly, yet loosely. All right. Hold tightly, yet loosely.
So I guess we have to check out Cracking the Life Code. And is it on Amazon? There's also e-copy as well, or what?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. There's an e-copy. It's everywhere books are sold. Barnes and Noble, everywhere.
Okay. And where can we find you online, Mr.?
I'm pretty active on social media. Well, take that
Are you
back.
on
Not
Instagram?
these days. Yes, I am on Instagram. We've got crackingthelifecode.com. Got a closed community. Instagram's Babs Faseesin, just same name on the screen. And I'm always happy to connect on Instagram.
So you help others, right? With the strategies, right? So
Yeah.
there we have it.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much,
Totally.
Babs Faseesin. I think I messed it up again. Anyways, Babs.
That's okay.
Thank you for being a guest on Diva Tonight. I'm Carlene, and you can find the book, Cracking the Life Code, on Amazon or anywhere books are sold. So thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to Diva Tonight. Follow us on Instagram at Diva on the Radio. That's Diva with 2 I's. And don't forget to follow us on TikTok at Diva on the Radio for more clips and conversations you'll love. Want to share your thoughts or send us a message? Text us anytime at divatonight.buzzsprout.com. Until next time, stay fabulous.